The alert is intended to encourage software updates, stronger monitoring, and added defenses as federal agencies continue investigating the threat. That's all for now. I'm Dalton Barrett, and I'll talk to you later.
The Good Neighbor Network, on air and online at WGNSradio.com. Rutherford County's most trusted source for local news. Rutherford weather.
Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 86. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 71 degrees.
Tennessee's 4th District deserves a fighter, not a career politician. I'm Rocky Jones. As a retired Air Force veteran, federal emergency manager, volunteer firefighter, and local farm owner, I've spent my life answering the call. From defending our nation to managing major crises, I have the proven experience the incumbent lacks. Early voting starts July 17th. Vote Rocky Jones for Congress in the Republican primary on August 6th. Paid for by Rocky Jones for Congress, Rocky Jones Treasurer.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters Award winner for Best Local Talk Show. A look at the news, views, politics, sports, and people shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer. On this Monday morning, it was really good. Walking my dog today, felt kind of normal. But I welcome in longtime friend John Jones of John Jones Real Estate. And John, first of all, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
I think we're in a different kind of market. We hear all sorts of sides, John, but let's kind of go, how did you get into it? And why did you form your own team?
So, real estate, I got into real estate, honestly, because my uncle owned a brokerage company, and Howard Wall and my aunt, Sally Wall, they owned, at that time, Snow and Wall Realtors. And Howard would always tell me, like when I was in high school and college, come work for me. You'll be a dynamo, John, and all this stuff. And if you know Howard, he's full of if you knew Howard, very charismatic. So I did about a year out of college. I went to work for, almost 2 years for State Farm as a claims rep in Chattanooga, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I was kind of lovesick, and I wanted to come back to Murfreesboro, so I just said, hey, I'm going to sell real estate. And I really didn't know much about it, to be honest. Even though I kind of grew up around it, I didn't pay attention. And what I soon realized, Howard said that to about everybody. Like, we would be you go to the Holiday Inn buffet, and he'd tell the little server she'd be a dynamo. So I don't think he was just making me, like I was special or something. So anyway, that's how I got into it. That was 1993. And I was lucky enough, didn't know it at the time, but that office had John Floyd, who owns Old South Properties. He had started Old South Properties at that time, but he was still spending half his day at the office. And the empty office that I got happened to be beside his. Across the hall was Jim O'Brien, who has gone on to do very well. And then, of course, Howard. And so, like, God kind of placed me right there around all these guys that weren't there yet, but were on their way up. And, I just learned so much just being around them, and just really honestly just almost by osmosis about land development and things like that. And all of them were just great mentors to me, and it was purely, I think, by God's divine intervention or whatever put me right there.
Isn't it amazing how when you start to pay attention, how much knowledge you can kind of grab from other people? What again, when I met you, 96 when I moved here, John.
Right.
I kind of thought, well, man, this guy's a rock star. Because you saw your face everywhere.
Yeah, we did. We did a lot of marketing.
Yeah, talk about that star power. Why?
What? Well, I started probably like everybody else. I struggled my first year. I was 20. What was I? 20. I turned 24 the day I started. Yeah, March 1st. And so I was young. I'd never owned a home. Baby face. Had all those fears, who's going to buy a house from me type thing. And at that time, it's changed a lot. Probably the average age of a real estate agent in that time back in Murfreesboro was probably, in their 50s. And so I had a lot of fear. And so I struggled that first year. I kind of made enough to stay around, so to speak. And then I kind of just kept working hard. Howard was... He trained back then. Nobody trained anybody. You kind of gave him a desk but he trained us, and his training propelled me. And then as I started going forward, I really said, if I want to get good at this, I've got to learn from the best. So I sought out this training company called Star Power, where basically it was the top agents in the country would come in and give you, you'd buy, it's like a tape of the month club where Howard Britton, the guy that ran the company, would interview a top producer somewhere in this country, and they just kind of pour out their secrets. So that's where I started, like, catching the fire to get better. And back then there was nobody had a team around here. Nobody even understood. I didn't understood it when I first heard it. So I was just, going into other markets, learning from people that were doing better than I was, and whether it's scripts, dialogues, moving truck, all those ideas all the things we used to do back then, and still some of them we still do, were things that I just found I just copied it, I learned a long time ago, I'm not some genius, I'm not Elon Musk. I need to go, hey, if it's working for this guy in Dayton, Ohio, it's probably going to work in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Do you feel like, John, because you went out and discovered all those different markets, how different is Murfreesboro? I mean, you're selling real estate in Middle Tennessee. How different is it from here to Lebanon to Mount Juliet, over to Franklin, Nashville? Is there a big difference in those markets?
I think they're not. I think when you get into more of a rural market, maybe like Bedford County or some of that, there's a little bit of a difference in dealing with those agents and things, and things move a little slower, and there's more of that kind of good old boy type thing. But honestly, it's not a lot different. Now, when I started, it was a lot different. And I just assumed the way Murfreesboro did it is the way everybody did it. And then when I went to other markets, my eyes were opened. You never even heard the term buyer's agent back then. And I would go to meet with a guy, and I remember in Michigan, and he would show me his team. He goes, these are my buyer's agents. These are my listing agents. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Because here we always just kind of a solo operator. Another thing that was real different here, that was vastly different in other areas, was, it's not different now, but prior to the recession, the Great Recession, there was no national builders here. It was all local developers. And usually the local developers, there's like four of them. There was Howard and Sally, and then James Rowland, and then Parks. So three of your major developers back then also owned real estate companies. So they wanted to sell lots to the small mom and pop type people. So national companies would come in during those years, but then they would leave because they said, hey, we can't make any money here. We're trying to compete with, mom and pop over here putting all this trim in a house. And but then they got a foothold in the recession. And then
07, 08.
Yeah, they came in and bought, I remember, I think it was MVR, came out to Muirwood and kind of bought that project from Pinnacle or Calvary at the time, I can't remember, but one of the banks, and then kind of got a foothold. And now it's very hard to find, the local
mom and pops.
Yeah. And of course, the recession, it was 5 years of pure heck, and it probably wiped out 75% of the builders at that time. It wiped out a ton of people, developers, builders, real estate agents. I mean, we hung on by the skin of our teeth, but
people just kind of look and have assumptions too, that you guys do extremely well.
Right.
No one understands 07 better than you.
Well, it hit more 08 through really 12, 13. And you asked when I opened my company, I opened the doors October 1 of 08. And literally that was like a week after the bailout. So like the week before I opened, I was in Washington, D.C. on my kids' 5th grade field trip. And I literally was watching protesters down there going, don't bail them out and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen to this country? You know, I'm opening an office on Monday. I'm walking into my new office on Monday and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And literally it's like the faucet was running and then it just shut off. And it was devastating. And it was devastating on, you know, to a lot of people. You know, a lot of people lost their jobs. I can't tell you how many listing appointments I walked in where, you know, I knew before I went out there, I mean, I could look at what they paid, I could look at what they borrowed and know they were upside down and have to go have that conversation. And they need to sell their home because they lost their job, you know, but they're underwater on their home. So we had to get good at short sales, which is a heck of a way to make a living. I mean, they're brutal. They take 6-7 months to get worked out. Usually the first buyer would not be they couldn't even wait. And it was just a whole, I didn't even really know the term short sale before 8. I didn't even really understand it. And then all of a sudden you had to become great at them.
Well, explain, because I'm sitting in here
short
and
sale.
I was in mortgages for a brief minute.
So a short sale is basically where you've got a borrower that owns a home and they're behind on their payments, and you try to negotiate with the bank to put a price out there that would be less than what it would be for them to pay off the loan. But the way the bank would look at it, it would still save them money to go ahead and take the loss now than to take it to foreclosure. You know, that's a process. It takes time. There's a lot of expenses. They take over the house. Then they have to maintain the house. They have to turn utilities on the house. They have to keep the grass cut and all the things that can go wrong with the house. And they say, hey, look, we'll go ahead and take this deal today than to risk, you know, getting it foreclosed on. And so they're shorting what's owed to them. They call it a short sale. And you have to prove to the bank, you know, your borrower has to fill out a lot of paperwork, hardships, what's going on. And back then, you literally, because they were so overwhelmed, if that bank wasn't looking, or that mortgage company wasn't looking at their computer screen, seeing these people were at least 3 months late, you weren't even being taken serious. That's how overwhelmed they were. They were the only people hiring during this time was, you know, foreclosure departments and short sale departments at lending institutions. That's probably the only thing that was hiring during those years. Everybody else was laying off.
So, John, when you look at it, you weathered that.
We weathered that storm.
So, and
I was carrying, the big thing was I was carrying 3 developments at that time. And here's another term I'd not really heard of, because the banks didn't really explain this when you fill out the loan papers, that they can do a capital call. You know, every year they reappraise your project. And if the value goes down, which it did every single year during those years, they would say, hey, John, we need an infusion of, you know,
X.
Whatever. Yeah. And a lot of times I didn't have X, and you had to try to figure out how to come up with X. And to pay them, and that's what killed me. That's what killed me, was carrying that debt, because you couldn't hardly give a lot away. Like, I literally could not hardly give a lot to someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and people just don't understand. You guys took all the risk in the development side.
And that's what, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're doing it, and I get it, most people don't understand it, but like if you ever go like doing a development, you'll watch on, you can watch it on whatever the local station where they're up there trying to get a development through, and you got all the neighbors and whatnot coming up, and you know, they're hammering. It's always traffic drainage, and then you'll hear somebody go, just old greedy old developers, you know, they're making all the money. Hey, when things are working, yeah, it can be profitable, but when things ain't working, and if you've been a developer long enough, you are gonna experience those years. They wouldn't trade seats with you in a heartbeat, I promise you. There was many days from 08 to 12 where I thought, man, just a guy getting a regular paycheck didn't sound bad, you know. It was brutal. And that's why you see a lot of bankruptcy and a lot of that kind of stuff in development. And I grew up, my dad was a real estate guy, and he was commercial real estate. So, growing up in the 80s, I wasn't paying much attention, but I look back on it now, we hit some major recessions, Jimmy Carter years, all that stuff. And I tell people, some years some years we were members of the country club, and some years we weren't, because that's just the life of a real estate guy. It's up and down.
So when you look at now this market, what are you seeing, and has the growth slowed?
Here's the deal. Our market, like everybody said, prices are going to come down. Well, they haven't really come down because we still have demand. We just have general population demand, and that's this is the whole country. And so the inventory has gotten bigger, but you're talking, we're probably about a little over 3 months absorption rate, which is really kind of a balanced market. But during COVID, we were at like 5 days. It was insane. And the whole thing's changed. Technology has changed things so much. For instance, used to be, we would say, hey, we've got to have good jobs to keep a vibrant market, good local jobs. And that's still true to an extent. But now all of a sudden people can work from home, right? So that changes that. All these people that came in from the West Coast here, and there was a ton of them, or Chicago or wherever, they came here. They came here in a lot of cases because all of a sudden they could work from home, and they were tired of living there for either taxes or political or whatever, so they wanted to move here. And that didn't mean they didn't have to have a headquarters here. They didn't have to have a new plant built here. I remember talking to a guy from California, nice fella. He was an AD. He had spent his career, retired AD from a county school district, St. Obispo. How you say it, St. Obispo or something like that? I'm not saying it right.
Yeah,
but
I'm not.
That's where
I
he's
wouldn't
from.
either.
So I'm out there talking to him one day, and I said, tell me your story. Why did y'all move here? Did you have family? He goes, man, we visited Nashville. We really liked it. We liked the culture. We liked everything about it. And we kind of pinpointed Murfreesboro because we found a good value here. And he said, just my wife moving here, we got to pay raise $1,500 a month. And she didn't get a raise, just taxes and things like that. So, and then he said he recruited 4 families to come here that never lived here. Isn't that crazy?
No, I'm telling you, I think there's a lot more of that than we really know that has happened. But we're going to take our first break and be back with John Jones.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
Well, yeah, I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
First Shot transforms Rutherford County youth. Coach Andy Herzer leads dynamic basketball camps and clinics, building skills and character since 2003. Kids dive into exciting STEM projects, sparking creativity through hands-on coding, art, and dance. They elevate their mind, spirit, and body in summer and winter programs. Visit FirstShotTN.org today to learn more. First Shot, where kids gain, elevate, and develop.
This is Austin Maxwell, and I vote for Murfreesboro City Council. It has been an honor to serve this community and work every day to make Murfreesboro an even better place to call home. But I believe Murfreesboro's best days are still ahead. I'll keep working for better roads, more parks and recreation, and good jobs that allow our families to thrive right here at home. Early voting is July 17th through August 1st, and Election Day is August 6th.
Paid for by Austin Maxwell for Murfreesboro City Council. Austin Maxwell, Treasurer.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
My name is Pat, and we are very real clients of the law offices of John Day.
We called the law office of John Day. They came to our rescue and took care of us, and we are very happy with them.
Injured by a big truck? Trust the law offices of John Day.
I was seriously injured in a car accident, and I would highly recommend the law offices of John Day because they're amazing and they will come through for you.
The law offices of John Day. Call for your free consultation.
Now, Good Neighbor Events. Here's Bart Walker.
Perhaps you've lost a loved one and need some help with the grief process. There is a free grief support group meeting every Wednesday morning at 10 at the St. Clair Senior Center. The St. Clair Center is at 325 St. Clair Street here in Murfreesboro. We remember you. An Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregiver Support Group meeting is on the second Tuesday of each month at 4 in the afternoon. And the second Tuesday is next week, Tuesday, August 11th, 4 o'clock. For more information, phone the villages of Murfreesboro. Hey, don't forget, the Rutherford County Farmers Market is open every Tuesday night this month, 2 in the afternoon until 7 in the evening. That's in addition to the Friday Farmers Market from 8 in the morning until noon. Both are at the Lane Agri Park, 316 John R. Rice Boulevard. Don't forget to vote this Thursday, 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And when the polls close at 7 o'clock Thursday night, tune to WGNS for the latest election results.
Rutherford weather.
Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 86. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently 72.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Want to take charge of your energy bill? Download the free MyMTE app to track your usage, pay bills, and report outages right from your phone. Download in the App Store today.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot, and here's my shameless plug. September 30th, the Autumn with the Alley. Good food, good spirits, good wine, and great music. And put it on your calendar. $100 for the ticket. That $100 sends a kid to camp. And with my guest who was here, I get to thank him now on radio. It was the first time we were flying up to see my cousin's team play Ohio State, ranked number 1 in the country, get off the plane, and you called me and said, Andy, we will be your presenting sponsor for an event. And that was 23 years ago, John, and never forget it. You gave me the confidence to go ask other people. So, again, thank you, and welcome back in. We were talking about the local market and how it has changed over the years. How much is AI changing your?
You know, it's interesting. It definitely, and who knows exactly, but it's definitely enhanced. You know, some things we can do. I don't know how much it's gonna change the process. I think a lot of people now are putting, how much is this home worth into AI, which is not too dissimilar to what Zestimate or some of these valuation tools, algorithms, and they're going to get in the ballpark. The problem with the computer is that it it can't go in that house if it smells like cat pee, you know what I mean? Or it can't really tell if that house, you know, backs up to a terrible neighbor, or the condition of the carpet, or so there's so many variables to what a house is worth. It's not just square footage. That's one of like 15. If an appraiser, you know, that's one of 15 things. So condition, quality, there's a lot of things that go into it neighborhood, neighbors, back up to a busy road, you know, whatever. So I don't know that I'll ever be able to really pinpoint that, because, you know, there's so many variables when people live in a home.
So when you look at it, you have all sorts of different people trying to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
What tips would you give first-time home buyers, John?
First-time home buyers, the biggest tip I would give them is, you know, make sure you're financially ready. You know, make sure that you have a couple of payments, or at least a few payments in reserve, because, you know, nobody ever anticipates, you know, they always, you know, like, hey, if we take it right to what we qualify for and we're exhausting everything we have, there's always, you know, life gets you. I mean, your transmission goes out. You miss work because you get sick, and then all of a sudden you have a little hiccup in your life, and it makes you, you know, kind of a slave to that house payment. So I always tell people, make sure you're financially healthy before you do it. But, you know, first-time home buyers, I would, you know, obviously work with a good realtor. You know, make sure you get things inspected. Make sure if you're buying an older home, because a lot of, like, we'll talk to a lot of these young couples, I want to buy something older, you know, with character. Well, the only problem with buying older is it's got older stuff typically. So make sure, you know, I'd try to buy a home, if I was a new buyer, something newer, something I know I'm not going to have to fool with the roof. Because when the roof goes, hey, you know, there's 10 grand. HVAC goes out, hey, there's 7 grand, whatever. You know, so I guess things like that, and just to be smart, and don't just settle. Make sure you're ready. And I think a lot of young people are doing that now, because, hey, things have gotten so high. They're living with roommates a little bit longer. They're maybe staying at home a little bit longer to save up. And, you know, the typical first-time house now, we're seeing a lot of times, you know, they're making it in their 30s or in their late 20s, where it used to be in their mid-20s. So
when you look at that, what is now a first-time single-family home cost in Murfreesboro, Rutherford County?
Well, I always use like Evergreen Farms as an example, because I think it's, you know, the largest and kind of the premier first time. So, you know, those homes now are going to go, you know, a 1,200 square foot house, $325,000, $330,000, you know, which when they started that subdivision, that was $79,900, you know, in the early 90s. And in the recession, think about this. This hadn't been that long ago, okay? 12 years ago, you could go in that neighborhood and buy a short sale or a foreclosure any day of the week for about 5 years from anywhere from about 95 to 110. And in 12 years, really in 10 years, because, you know, our prices stay stable, those homes have basically tripled. So you've been pretty smart if you went in there and
bought 10.
Yeah, but who knew that was going to happen? Who knew COVID? Who knew any of this stuff, you know?
Yeah. So you've said twice now COVID. What effect on the market did it have, in your opinion?
Well, I think it poured gasoline on something that was coming. What happened was, what created the issue, if you go deeper in our country, every decade, going back to the 50s, we've built as a country over 20 million new units of housing, and that can be apartment doors and regular houses, single-family residences. So 50s over 20 million, 60s over 20 million, 70s over 20 million, 80s over 20 million, 90s over 20 million. 2000 to 2010, it was like 27 million, which was at our peak, right? 2010 to 2000, and that was just for general population growth, right? So in 2010 to 2020, we built 5.4 million, okay? Because, you know, we hit the recession, this, that, and the other, everything froze up. So, boom, we had some catching up to do. And the problem with catching up is like, oh, we'll just go develop some more lots. If you and I find the most beautiful farm today and don't even have to get it rezoned, I mean, it's a pretty simple thing between the municipalities and just all the rigmarole. I mean, it's probably best case 18 months to 2 years before you even have a house going up. You know what I mean? Like, are finished, let's say. So it's just not something that can happen quick. So you had that kind of going on. And then COVID hits, and then now all of a sudden people have more time at home to experience their home. And in some states, they had all their time at home. Like California, you couldn't even go out, right? You got arrested if you went to the beach. I mean, that's how screwed up that state is. So these people, all of a sudden, they can work from home, and they're like, we want to get out of here. Or we want a better house, or whatever. And it just kind of threw fire on a problem that was already happening and would have been more gradual, but it just threw a fire on it. Because now all these folks can work from home. We can live anywhere. Why do we want to live in Chicago if we can live in Tennessee, you know, and not have to pay all these crazy property taxes and state taxes, and same with California. So it's typically a blue state to red state migration. And people, like, I talk to a lot of people around here, they're conservative, and they're like, well, tell them don't bring their politics. Everybody I've met from California that's coming here, they're coming here because they think, as a whole, kind of like we do. I guess they go to Austin, Texas, if they, you know.
If you look at everything, John, when you see where it votes, large cities in California are blue.
Right. Large cities in Tennessee are blue.
But you look at the rest of the state, it's red.
Right.
And it's the same in California as it is here.
Right.
You got conservatives there, that, as well as we do here.
Yeah.
But most of the people I've met, they don't want that, the blue state mentality to come to Tennessee that have moved here from other places.
No, they don't. They come here because they like our way of life. They like our culture. They like the lifestyle. They like the values. And they were losing that in the places they were.
So as a man that has grown up here, and you've seen
the change,
how much more is this going to change, do you think, in the next 10 years, growth-wise?
Man, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think it's going to continue to grow. We kind of go as Nashville goes, you know. We're part of the greater Nashville, so Nashville's, experiencing so many. I mean, I heard Starbucks' headquarters is coming to Nashville. I mean, In-N-Out Burger came to Franklin from their West Coast company, and then you got a lot of other, Google, Oracle, all this stuff, So as long as Nashville stays hot, we're going to stay hot. And I don't see that changing anytime soon with the way the blue states are operating, And you can come here, you don't have a state income tax. You come here, it's a very friendly business state. So you move jobs here, you're going to have growth, and that's where the jobs are going, to the south, for the most part.
John, you're talking about $350 for a first-time home buyer, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's nuts.
I bought mine in 1996 when I moved here off English Hill.
Yeah.
Off to Jarnett.
Yeah, Huntington.
For $125,000.
Yeah. And that was more of a move-up home, really. It wasn't. You came in.
You were stunned.
Yeah.
Because the house we were living in Asheville, North Carolina, was less square footage, but the same cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were kind of shocked
at
how inexpensive it was to move here.
If you told me in 2019 that within 10 years or 7 years, the average home price in this town, in this county, was going to be $475, I would have said, you're crazy. There's no way. I mean, typical appreciation on a home is 3.5–4% a year historically. Well, from June of 20, COVID, to June of 22, properties went up around here about 55%. Now think about it, 3.5 is the norm. So they should have gone up about 7%, right?
Crazy.
They went up 6, 7, 8, almost 8 times that in 2 years.
How does a market sustain that?
They don't. And the market, so that was June of 22. Now we're past June of 26, right? That's 4 years later, and our prices haven't really come down. I'd say they've come down. It's hard to really gauge. On paper, they really haven't come down, but they have because people give more incentives. But they've really kind of stayed the same. So we're leveling out that 55% now, not over 2 years. Now it's been over 6 years, and probably have to go another couple of years, in my opinion. But there's so many variables, like, the war in Iran, the gas prices, have created things. The rates were starting to kind of ease down, and then that happened, and they're talking about maybe even having to raise rates again because of inflation. So we'll see. But there's so many things that people ask me all the time. They're like, hey, what do you think about next spring? You think that's going to be? I say I have absolutely no idea. If I was that smart, I would not be here sitting in front of you. I'd be on Wall Street or Vegas, one of the two, probably dead somewhere. But I wouldn't be sitting here, because the truth is there's so many variables that I can't control. Who would have? Hey, I thought when COVID hit us, I thought it was going to devastate the real estate market. And for about 3 weeks, it kind of did,
Yeah, everybody was in a panic.
Everybody didn't know. Hey, if you can't even go out, and you can't, what the heck, and it did the opposite here, and really did the opposite everywhere in this country.
John, you look at a guy my age, I'm 65 now.
Mm-hmm. You look good, buddy.
You're always selling. When you look at it and say that they're, all right, we want to downsize from that big 3,000 square foot home.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for someone? What advice would you give someone downsizing?
The thing is, that we talk to like our older clients about is, what do you want? Why do you want to downsize? Is it the yard? Is it the maintenance? What is it? So you try to find the motivation and then get them in the right place. But as far as getting your home ready for sale, and this is something that's hard to talk to folks
Older.
our age about, like, look, if you want top dollar, then we got to get it in top dollar shape. And usually the things that you got to do, I can always tell you, if you're going to get a 2-to-1 return on them is paint. It's the most inexpensive thing. Get your flooring, declutter. One of the hardest things is telling a grandma, hey, I need you to take down little Johnny's picture from first grade to graduate school up the staircase. We got to depersonalize it, and get this stuff out of here, unclutter. You're going to have to move it anyway. Let's go ahead and box it up. But you try to be sensitive too, but they usually don't want to do the work sometimes. Well, that's just in general. People don't want to do the work to get their house ready, but they want top dollar. And it just doesn't, it'd be like me going to sell my car and, I'm not going to even clean it. I'm not even going to detail it. Nobody would even think of buying a car that was dirty. You just go buy the clean car, right?
Yeah.
Same with the house if you want top dollar.
John, when you look at the different variables, what 3 variables do you think shape Murfreesboro right now, and where it's going? What needs to happen here?
Well, I think our university is a big thing. I think the new president hire is crucial, and I hope we make a good decision. I think we got to get somebody that has that's a magnet, can attract people, that has charisma, that sees the big picture. I think we got to get student life back on that campus. I don't know all the ins and outs of why the Greek organizations aren't there anymore. I know a lot of it was some of it was kind of the deal on those houses was kind of a tough deal, financially on them. And then I think they had a lady or a person over there that was, pretty hard as far as, putting her thumb down on them and, drinking beer and this and that, doing stupid stuff that fraternity guys are going to do. However, those are the guys and gals that stay for the weekends. They go to the ball games. They create a campus life. And we just don't have that. And I think MTSU ought to be thriving right now. We are one of the only state institutions in the greater Nashville area. TSU's another one. But, we should be thriving as Nashville's thriving. And, in fact, we're backing up. I think we had a peak enrollment of 26,000 in, around 2010 or 11, and we're down to 20,000. And I truly feel like it feels like 70-80% of them are just doing online classes because you just don't see kids over there. And I don't mean to demean. I know there's more than just leadership. It's societal problems, technology things. But I just really wish we could attract and get kids here in Murfreesboro, good kids that want to stay here and contribute to this community. I think that's one of our best things we have is that university. And we just it just needs some fine tuning, in my opinion. I don't know how in the hell you fix it because I'm not an academic guy.
Yeah.
But
it is all about leadership. So this hire is
crucial.
huge.
It is crucial. Not to knock the guy. He was there a long time, and
did a lot of good
things. I mean, during the peak enrollment, he was there. So things happen. People need to hear a new voice sometimes. Get excited about something. It's just that's why head coaches change here and there because sometimes you just got to hear a new voice. But that's a huge variable. I think infrastructure is a big variable. I know right now they're going to do Thompson Lane, Cherry Lane extension. I think we still need to land that big, really attractive employment center here. Some really good white-collar jobs. But I'm going to tell you what, every chamber of commerce, every city in the country says the thing.
For it.
And we need that. And I think we've gotten very close, and I think we might be close now. But just keep doing staying there. And I know our city does a good job and our county does a good job. It's tough, man. It's tough. They're up against the wall. It's always trying not to raise taxes, but it's tough. Schools are incredibly hard.
Expensive.
They're the money pit of a government, of a local government. It really hamstrings them. So, but we gotta look at that, and that's probably more of a state issue. I think teachers, we gotta somehow. Here I am talking about don't raise taxes, but teachers gotta be rewarded better than they are in this, because I think if you want to attract good teachers, you got to pay them, and I think that's been lacking. I think the disparity in income's gotten so. Hey, when you and I grew up, middle class America, it wasn't in Murfreesboro. It wasn't uncommon in a nicer neighborhood to have two educators living next door to the guy that has a nice insurance business. You know what I'm saying? But now that's almost impossible because of the disparity in income. But if you want smarter kids, you got to have better teachers, right?
You got to hire the best.
And the only way you're going to attract the best is to pay them accordingly.
Yep. It's just what you said. It again goes back to leadership. How are we going to do that? How are we going to fund that?
Right.
And none of us want to pay more taxes.
No, we don't.
So, it's a balancing act.
It is a balancing act. And I don't pretend to have the answers.
No. Well, I still think, John, I'm not from here. You grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
I still think this is one of the greatest towns, cities.
It is a great city
to live in.
It is. And, people just assume because I'm in real estate and I'm a developer that, I don't care that we have. Hey, let me tell you something. As a developer, I don't just build something and hope people will show up to it. We do things because the demand is here. And I hate traffic as much as anybody. And I do. I mean, but that is the pains of growth. But if you try to startle or throttle growth, let me tell you, you're either growing or you're dying, and you don't want to be in the dying phase because then it becomes very tough to recover.
Well, again, we're going to take our final break, but we're going to come back to that after these messages.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you
every step of the way.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
Lots and lots of friends here at Adams Place. This is Don Dobbins.
You know, we do a lot of socializing, not just around here in the various meeting rooms, but in the dining room. It's wonderful food. If you were to eat in here, you would compare it to a very fine restaurant. Not just the food, but the settings, the atmosphere, the beautiful surroundings.
This is Terry Deal. Come tour Adams Place and discover living a dream in your senior years on Memorial across from Walmart.
Hey folks, it's Chip Walters from Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, helping Middle Tennessee make smart moves in a fast-moving market. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, you deserve someone who knows this community and treats your goals like their own. From first-timers to long-time homeowners, I'm here to guide you with clarity, confidence, and a steady hand. When you're ready to make the next move, start with someone you trust. Visit choosechip.net and let's make your 2026 move the right move.
Hey Murfreesboro, I'm Jacob Morphus and I'm running for City Council this election day, August 6th. I love our city and I know that you do too. That's why I am humbly asking for your vote. It's not just about the next 4 years for me, but I will labor over decisions that impact our city with a long-term future in mind. I'm a longtime resident and MTSU alum, and I am proud to call Murfreesboro home. Let's work together to ensure our home improves year after year. God bless.
Paid for by Jacob Morphus for Murfreesboro City Council. Jacob Morphus, Treasurer.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old Premier 6.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back in to the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot. And welcome back in John Jones. John, you and I had a choice. Mm-hmm. To stay when I got fired from coaching.
Right.
And I did because this community is they're such a giving community and they embrace me. So talk about how you've seen it change from your perspective over the last 25 years and why do you love this town so much?
I mean, really, as a kid, I tell people it's kind of like Mayberry with a college. You know what I mean? It was a very small town. If my mother had to drive us out to River Rock to go swimming, she was complaining. I mean, because that was out there, you know what I'm saying? So, and it was still a lot of agriculture, in our areas. And then, I've seen that change, obviously. It's funny now when I tell people I'm a native Murfreesboroan, they look at me funny.
There's not many of you that you run into on a daily basis.
It's really, and so that changes. I remember when it first hit me. Our area's really changing. Blackman had been around for a few years, Blackman High School, and I went out there to a ball game, and I hardly knew anybody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hardly knew anybody in the stands unless we sold them a house or something. It was crazy, and I was like, gosh, this place is really changing. And with the changes, you got the good and the bad, like anything. But where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little small town in northern Indiana. It would be smaller than Eagleville when I moved here. So just a little farming community, but I look
what
at it.
What big town was it close to?
Fort Wayne.
Okay. How's Fort Wayne? Was it kind of a Rust Belt town?
Well,
not so much?
Yeah. No, it was blue collar. You had you had tire, you had auto, you had
So has that been a pretty depressed area in the last 20, 30 years?
No, I mean, Fort Wayne's thriving now.
Is it thriving?
I don't even recognize it when I go back.
Where is the Chicago Bears moving to?
That's over on the opposite side of the state in the Hammond-Gary area.
Gotcha.
Which we called the region, which was a very difficult area, really rough, really inner city. So
the towns the cities that I do, man, I feel sorry for, or really have compassion for, is like the Akrons and Youngstowns and those places where all the manufacturing and the industrial era and all that, and then you'll see documentaries on what's happened there. And a lot of the steel towns in Pennsylvania and stuff like that. And I know that Pittsburgh and a lot of these places have had a little revival, But it's very sad to see some of that, you know, and really, like in Tennessee, I was telling somebody the other day, like when I was at Riverdale in the 80s, you know, Tullahoma was one of our, you know, we played Tullahoma, we played Shelbyville, we played these smaller, you know, towns, and they were very, to me, they were kind of almost like equal, you know. And then it's almost like after NAFTA, the towns that weren't on the interstate, man, it's just like, it's like they've been left behind, which I hate that, you know. I wish that wasn't that way.
But when you look at it, I grew up also, there was railroaders.
Yeah.
We had engineers, we had all of them. They'd hop the train at the depot 1 block from my house. So we were all over the train tracks growing up.
Yeah.
Right? These guys were union. And we'd be playing ball on a Friday night, getting ready to play, and in walks all these railroaders.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going, who's working?
Yeah.
You know, but they're all laying off.
Yeah.
Right? Or laying out, whatever they called it. And I said, how do you guys keep your jobs?
Yeah.
You work 4 days a month.
They say I'm union, man.
I'm the union.
Yeah, the unions obviously had their place, and then it's
In
like
the time.
anything, it gets corrupt and gets abused. But, you know, I tell people the South, and it's the truth. I mean, the Civil War kind of put us behind the 8 ball, you know, and
industrialized,
right, and all those places up in the Midwest, Northeast were really thriving. You know, down here, man, because I can remember, like in my mother's generation, or maybe a little bit of, you know, older than her, those people would literally go to Detroit to get a job. She had an uncle Tracy, my wife had an uncle, went to Detroit with his brother to get jobs because, you know, they couldn't really afford to live, and they'd save up enough money, in some cases, come down here. A lot of times they just stayed up there, come back here, buy a little patch of dirt and do a little farming or something like that. And you hear that over and over. And if you talk to a lot of people in Detroit, their roots are from the South.
Yeah, the other thing that you see that shifted, John, is when I was growing up, going to high school, we had places that you could go and learn to be a plumber, learn to be an electrician, vocational high schools, where they buildings, trades, all of it, auto mechanics. They were thriving.
Yeah.
Now you go back, they're gone.
Yeah. And that's happened a lot here too. And I think we need to bring it back in the schools. And I think some schools do have it. I know Oakland is doing things like mechatronics and things, but I'm telling you what, if a kid's not cut out, not everybody is cut out for college. You know,
John,
some of the most successful people I know in this town, you know, didn't go to, or they tried to go to college for like 9 hours, couldn't even sit in a classroom. But, you know, a kid goes out today and learns how to become HVAC guy. You know, A, he's going to make great money. B, he's going to learn a craft. He could own an HVAC business. And I don't know anybody that owns an HVAC business doesn't do pretty good, because it's something we all got to have.
Oh, it's you know, all the time. I just think the shift in college should be back to that. We should, not everybody should take the SAT score or the ACT.
Well, the cost of college is insane. You know.
Yeah, how many have you put through?
4. And one of them had full scholarship, and it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it's nuts. You can't save enough. You really can't, because you can't. That market won't outdo what the cost of education's gotten, and I see it crippling people with these student loans.
Well, we know that it does it, and it hurts us. And when I'd pull somebody's to do a loan, John, and I pull up, they had $200,000 in student loan debt.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to get a home.
Here's how, to me, how much it's changed, and this is going to be rough numbers. I think when I went to Tennessee Tech back there, you could probably go the whole way for about $12,000 or so, the whole 4 years, you know. And then now, and then you'd go out and you get a job making about 25. Okay, so about you know, it'd be double whatever you. Now it's reversed. You know, you go to UT, you're gonna spend 150 going, and then you're gonna get a job maybe making 70. So you see how it's like reversed.
Yep. And I don't think
and I know
that's
that
gonna
ain't
change.
perfect, but that's pretty daggum close.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, John. My scholarship for out of state back in 1980 was $1,800 for room, board, tuition, fees, books.
And that was
everything.
out of state.
That was out of state. I couldn't go to Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, it would have cost my parents $8,000. It was cheaper for me to go to out of state.
Really? Because Indiana was just high or something?
Yeah. And again, it's just...
Must have been the unions.
Probably. But, man, I knew this hour would go by quick, John.
Man, I've enjoyed
I appreciate it. Hey, if anybody really... This is what I've learned about John. John will answer your questions. If you have real estate questions, give John Jones and his team a chance. And again,
I appreciate
John,
that. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for what you do.
The others are left trying to recover after they were hit by a vehicle on Broadway. According to Metro Nashville Police, the crash happened at the intersection of 4th and Broadway when an 87-year-old driver from Kentucky struck the four people who were crossing the road. During a